And let's jump into today's agenda. Since you're on, Chris, I think we might want to talk a little bit about the Deanza item as well, and maybe discuss some next steps with that. Okay. Do you guys have anything else you want to add to the agenda?
Not me.
Okay, so we know each other, so I think meeting other people will be quick. Do you guys want to meet next Thursday? 24th, Christmas Eve to Saturday?
I could go either way.
Either way. Yeah,
I think it would be tough to get people on, I think.
I won't be available.
Yeah, but if you and I want to meet Jim and plan or talk, or, you know, and if it's just the two of us, you want to meet at a bar someplace, we can have a beer and talk too, so.
Okay, I'll get back to you.
Okay.
About that.
Planning for January. So we canceled the meeting here for December last week, or no, it was 2 days ago. And we talked about doing a January, having sort of a first annual social dinner, reflection, look ahead type of a thing. The logistics that I thought of, well, we got to figure out the location. We can talk tonight about the requirements for that if we want. The back button, I just trashed that. And then I think preparing a summary, a handout to stimulate conversation, sort of a, you know, where we've been, how we got started, where we've been, what we have accomplished, where we think we're going, and what our focus will be for 2017. So we can brainstorm some of those items here today. We can talk about promoting attendance, getting an email out. I think we should open it up to any members of any of the community organizations, or even other community people, residents, that want to get involved. The social and dinner might attract some new people in to hear about us. It's also time to sort of revisit whether it's done during, you know, we make that sort of a focus of conversations during the social dinner or follow-on meetings to discuss, you know, what we're about for 2017, what are we going to do, you know, some real action, and how are we going to get it done. So with that, we've discussed this before. Do either of you have any comments, sort of starting at the top here, just the whole January social dinner reflection?
Well, I think it's a good idea, Ed. It's a different way of doing it, you know, rather than having just the online meetings. We'll just have to see how much attendance there will be, but there's only one way to find out. And then I think the reflection, the concept of reflecting on our purpose is a good one. Also, what we have accomplished, the different issues that we have discussed as an overview, and then where we might do mid-course correction or early course correction would be helpful.
Any thoughts, Chris?
Can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
And I tried to do the video, but it's showing up on my screen, but maybe not on yours. I don't know.
Turn it off and back on again.
Okay.
See what happens. I just clicked to send.
And with mine, Chris, it had a place where I could share video.
Yeah, you might click the little tab next to the webcam and check the options then, and then you can drop down your options and see if it even sees your camera. If not, we'll just go, there you're coming up. There you are.
Wonderful.
My business partner had to upgrade his Apple. His video would come on for 3 minutes and then he would just stop.
Well, that's maybe he was doing some avant-garde
Well, he'd get a
artwork.
scowl on his face or something, then he would hold it for 10 minutes, you know. It's like, Clay, are you okay? Or you just, you know, he says, no, I'm here. Well, you're not moving.
Oh my
His
God.
video would freeze up.
Chris, is your audio on? No, it's not.
Oh, you're muted or something now.
We can't hear you.
Oh, when you switch to your camera, is it an external camera or built-in? External? Yeah, go back to the audio because it tried to switch to the webcam speaker or something. Go back to your audio and switch that back over. Huh.
Can you hear
Yeah.
me now? Yes. Okay. Sorry about all this. But anyway, getting to your thing about the reflection dinner thing, that all sounds like a good plan. You know, some of the community organizations like Beautiful PB, we have in January, we have an annual retreat where we look back and then we look forward. The PB planning group comes up once a year with a list of what we think we accomplished the last year. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. A lot of people do it in January.
Yeah, so if we do like, you know, book 2 hours or something and, you know, might mingle around, do you have any input on logistics of running an event like that? I was thinking, you know, write something up and you know, everybody settle in and maybe a few words just to get it going. And then just more of just people talking amongst themselves around the table, you know. It's people at one end of the table or a different table don't hear what somebody else is saying, but everybody gets a chance to discuss. And then collect information, collect input afterwards, you know, by email, the following meeting in February, comments on a Facebook. What logistics might you suggest being involved in other events?
I don't know. It just kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish. You know, with Beautiful PB, we have about 15 people there, and we actually have a facilitator, and the facilitator does an agenda and tries to keep everything on track. It's, you know, kind of focused on accomplishing certain things, but it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, it can be whatever you want it. You know, whatever the group thinks that they need to cover on that meeting. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not involved enough with the group to know, you know, what everyone's trying to accomplish the coming year, or reflecting back how things can be improved.
Well, our attendance has been low, you know, anywhere from 5 to 10 people on the monthly meetings and 3 to maybe 6 on these weekly meetings. So I think it's building a sense of, I don't know, purpose and direction. You know, it's
Yeah.
and individuals getting to know each other, because, you know, the thing is, a lot of people are coming from PB, you know, and really we need to, it's also, I guess that'd be another purpose, a different, what do I want to say, a different, to bring in members from other communities.
Mhm.
What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, I mean,
on purpose.
Well, and just adding to that, you and I had discussed attending different community groups as well, to just to get the word out there, get ourselves on an agenda, say what we're about, and take a few questions and see what interest there is. But we can use the existing community groups that we're involved in to spread the word.
So you made me think of something else here is, what I want to put here.
You might want to think about, having a particular thing that is more of a draw than just saying we're going to have a big meeting. Either try and get someone that people would like to hear or talk with.
Well, Kevin Faulkner said he's coming. I couldn't help the fact that he canceled that an hour before, but Jim got the joke.
He said that many times too. But yeah, I mean, something like that, or that there's something there that would draw interest or a particular subject that it's going to focus on, or I don't know. I mean, something more than just saying, we're this group and we're going to have a meeting and show. So I think you need a draw some kind. That's, I think early on you all had Ed Harris, and people probably showed up just because he was there. That's I don't know. I didn't come to those meetings, but I mean, just
but that's a good point. So we can kick that around and possibly somebody that watches the video, because we are getting participation on the video, people watching it afterwards throughout the week. So somebody might see something there and can email us with any ideas they have and input on this.
Well, just the one name that we talked about earlier, Joe LaCava. I don't know what kind of a draw he would be, but I think he's a very interesting person, since he's spread himself around so many different community groups. Perhaps he could give us some of his insights as to what makes a successful group, and where we can leverage our value as a group.
He's a great person.
Where's my notes?
Yeah, I like Joe. He's
okay.
He knows a lot.
Right.
I was disappointed he backed out of running for city council.
Well, maybe he just needed to recharge his batteries. Who knows?
I think he got, well, I guess it's a recording, I'm not going to say anything.
You have to do that. We often think that it's just the three of us going to hear this, and it's not. I was telling Jim earlier that I went to a breakfast talk that was put on by the Citizens Coordinate for Century 3, and Joe was announced as a new board member. So he's involved with that organization. Are you familiar with them, Chris, this group?
I haven't been to their meetings, but I know Kristen goes to them all the time. Yeah. And I was just talking about it today. But I think that meeting was the last couple of days.
I joined the organization last week, so find out more about them as time goes on. Okay, let's see here. Got some good stuff there. Logistics, location. I'm just thinking on location, any place where we can get somewhat of a private room, where the restaurant noise isn't too noisy for us. I don't see this as being a meeting where we're talking through the whole thing and trying to eat dinner while we talk. I see this as short on the talk. It's more of a social, and just try to guide the people to talk amongst yourselves about where we're going, as a group, and what you think's important, and maybe reflecting on some of the write-ups that we'll put together ahead of time. So that's the kind of a space we would need. You guys have any comments on location or requirements of location? And even, should we...
It's like you're kind of mixing social with meeting or accomplishment or something like that.
I'm not trying to accomplish any, monthly tasks.
Right.
This is definitely a review, but I don't think we've grown to the point where we're worthy of a retreat, where you actually have a facilitator that's running you through some exercises to collect that kind of data. What do you think, Jim? Do you think more of that type of approach is better?
Well, I think that would be fine, yes. And then I would suggest having it on an off night of a restaurant, maybe a Wednesday night or a Monday night. There's Taco Tuesday usually at many of these places. But, like getting back to Bay Park Fish Company, or I'm just thinking of the Greek place over in PB, Cafe Athena. They've got a room to the right, and I would imagine if we were to have a larger group, they would accommodate us in that room to the right. Are you familiar with that place?
Yeah.
I am. I'm not familiar with the room to the right, but I will check into that. We can go down into Point Loma as well, or Bird Rock, or anywhere in Bay Park. So keep your eyes and ears open. And our schedule for next week would be the 13th. So that's just 3 weeks, 4 weeks away from the day. Any thoughts on what should go in a summary?
Well, the summary of this past year, is that what you're referring to? Well, I would just give an overview of like how it started. And one of our more successful meetings was storyboarding the popular items, the issues of interest, and kind of still at a point we're still trying to determine what roads to go down. Remember, we had short-term vacation rentals, and then we exposed ourselves to the homeless. That may sound a little strange. Let me rephrase that. No trench coats. So Elvin introduced us to some homeless concerns. Those are the two that come to mind right away.
Well, we did as a group get involved with the homeless, and then Deanza,
Yeah, for sure.
and a little bit on transportation,
Right.
which takes in the trolley and getting involved with the areas around the 2 trolley stops, and with your representation, somewhat even 3 trolley stops.
Right.
Let's see. We also start our weekly online meetings. Okay. Yeah, so I'll write up a little one-pager. I think it should just all fit on one page. Or you think it should be 2 pages?
No, I think one page is good.
Then the other thing I'm thinking is, I'm over on my other screen here for a minute.
You might want to put those in some kind of categories, like the issues and it's whatever the issue is, and then what the current status is, and whether you're working on that in the future. And then the other thing is just building the growth of the group, or developing the purpose, where you're at with that. I don't know. I just might want to break it down into like 2 or 3 categories, and then within those, I always think kind of in spreadsheets with, here's the description, here's we are, here's where we're going, who's responsible or whatever, something like that. But it doesn't have to be like that. It's just kind of break it down.
I think I can include a shortened version of this, a half-page version of this. This is where I've been collecting the various things going on and trying to categorize them. Population growth in housing, transportation, homeless, social fabric, tourism, community fabric. Those are sort of duplicated.
So just kind of taking those and without too much detail, just say what the current status is and where do we want to go in the future?
Yeah.
Or do we want to go in the future? We want to keep this active or drop it off? Yeah.
I don't think that's a point really. I think Jim and I and some others, I think you have the interest. Henish does, but he has another meeting tonight. He texted me on that. Back to discussions. Who else did? I guess he's the only one that responded here.
Just what it's worth, I'm having dinner with a couple of the ladies who've attended, Amber and Stephanie. So we're right after this meeting. We'll find out, why they haven't been, to see if they're going to be attending these weekly online meetings, because they've attended our monthly meetings on occasion. But just to kind of refresh with them that we do have these monthly, these weekly
they get the email
meetings.
So
yeah,
I know Amber was out of town the one week, and then she was busy. You had to work late another. So okay.
If I could just interject something too, I like your point, Chris, about the status of certain things. So I'm thinking specifically of the fly issue that Gary was concerned about in Mission Beach. There was an article in the newspaper within the last few days about how, do you see that, how they're going to be addressing it moving forward with the, what is it called? The
Maintenance Assessment District.
Yes. Yeah. So it looks like they're on their way to finding a resolution for 2017. So that's good. And just another point, Ed, tomorrow regarding the trolley stop on Claremont Drive, tomorrow is an important date where our local folks, I should say the local developer, Protea, is going to be meeting with Sandag again. And it appears that Sandag is likely to drop their eminent domain issue regarding the property across from the Claremont Drive trolley station, and that's very big.
That is.
So that's an example of something that we've discussed. There have been certain milestones, and tomorrow will be a very important date if we find out that Sandag does drop eminent domain.
That's a real positive step. It
is,
and it's all due to the community action and getting involved. And I think there's a case study there, because you guys were seen at those first trolley meetings as nothing but disruptive. You guys went from table to table to table to make sure that only your message was heard. And that all changed around, you talk right about how everybody realized this is not the way to get something done for the future. And that's a great story. So, well,
along those lines, I think you just referenced a case study. So I think we as a group belong to many other groups, the participants, and perhaps there are things that we can learn from them and they can learn from us. And certainly, like you were suggesting, this has a potential of being a really, really good success story.
Yeah.
But we'll wait until tomorrow's meeting.
If
And then
If
we
you
can
guys come
elaborate
across
more.
that article, I did a little searching while we were talking here, and I found an article posted on the LA Times, which is the same as the Trib, and it's also posted in the Union Trib, but I can't find a current one. This one's dated June 18th. So if anybody gets sees that, go ahead and post it on our Facebook page.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, there was one within the last week.
Okay. Other than what I have here, providing something that draws people in interest. This is on promoting attendance. I'll get a hold of Joe LaCava. We'll get an email together, and the fact that basically open up to anybody that wants to get involved. Any other thoughts on promoting attendance? Okay. And then, were you on when I went over this part, Chris? Or did you come on just shortly after that? This is just something I was saying. I don't know if you were on, but I was saying, we need to revisit sort of, what do we want to be about for 2017? Revisit the mission statement. What is it we want to do, and how are we going to do it? And I think that's part of the reflection that needs to, these questions need to tie into the reflection summary. The summary is sort of the lead-in to these questions. So maybe the questions actually end up on the bottom at the end. Include the questions below. Okay.
Right.
I'm going to mute myself for just a minute. Hey, Mitch or Hillary, you might want to turn the heat up because I put it up 15 degrees and it needs to warm up more.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So we'll go with that for now. Let's go on to Deanza next steps. So, Chris, you saw the letter, and I also sent that to I forgot the guy's name, but the city. And Jim, you might have saw it because I posted it on Facebook as well.
Yes.
And Chris responded back and said, I think it's covered in, where did it just go? Chris said, I think it's covered in this document.
Oh, yeah.
And I forgot the page number that you said now, but it's...
Towards the end in the annexes,
yeah.
The hydrology studies.
I'll recognize the picture when I see it. But in here...
But basically, there was a study done by a professor at UCSD. I don't know how in depth it was, but he looked at all these different alternatives of having gates and flaps and cut throughs and all this stuff. And so it's a similar thinking as what you were talking about.
Right. And so one of the things I did get out of this in looking at it briefly was that it sounds like you can't be putting too much salt water onto the marshlands. That and the gates that were being proposed were actually there. You cut these trenches into the marshland, but you put gates on them to hold back the salt water from coming up in those trenches. And so if that's the case, then I thought, well, my idea still works for base circulation, but don't pump the water into the marshland, pump it away from the marshland, but you could still use it for circulating. So the other thing that I realized was, it was like, hey, thanks, Chris. This is a great document. It's 370 pages long.
I know, I read it. I think it was around 240 or 220 or something like that, the page
Well,
number.
if you count the appendixes, it's it's the PDF here shows 370 right there at the top.
Yeah.
And like you've said, you know, when you make a presentation and people are listening to this, whether they're campland, whether they're golfers, whether they're soccer players, they don't have this background. They're just shooting from the hip based on, you know, with their blinders on. And I think it's important that when data is presented and decisions are presented, that it's based on data, you know, that drag the people back and say, hey, don't argue with me, go argue with this data, you know. And
yeah. Well, that's the point I was trying to make at the planning group, but, you know, I mean, you can only say it so strongly. You still have to let people say what they want to say, but I mean, if you need to listen to the public input, but you also have to consider within the context of all the policy decisions that have already been made with the California Coastal Commission, with the Climate Action Plan, with the Mission Bay, you know, park plan, all those things. And yeah, if someone says they want a tennis court, fine, that sounds good, but let's go back and see how that fits into the policy that's already established. Yeah. And so, you know, but, you know, when someone stands up and says, I go every Saturday with my 2 young boys and play golf, then, you know, everyone's heart tugs and they vote for them. You know, so just, you know, it's the way it is. But yeah, I think it was around page 240.
220 is what you have in the email.
Okay, 220, give or take a few. But anyway, you know, beautiful. The PB Planning Group have their document. Beautiful PB came up with it's just a 1-pager, which basically states that they agree with the PB Planning Group document, and then they changed it. They added a couple other things, and the main one they added was elimination of the golf course. And I asked the town council to come up with their response, and I haven't heard from them yet. And anyone else that wants to chime in, but I'm going. I don't know when the ad hoc committee is meeting again, but I think it's going to be early January. So I would like to have as much of, you know, input from the community as possible, so I can stand up and say what I learned, you know, other than what we see online and everything. So,
what do you think about? You know, I'm tossed between trying to promote more community involvement or just letting the city go through the, you know, the community involvement being the level what happens naturally just by the city announcing they have these meetings. Now, Jim posted an item in Facebook today that talks about, where's the title of this thing? No, it doesn't say. Basically, it's talking about a metropolitan revolution, you know, sort of a bottom-up innovation across the country, and metropolitan areas basically taking on their own responsibilities rather than looking to federal government. I see the same thing happening in at the local scale as well. You know, it seems like there's more people saying, "Hey, we gotta take this on ourselves. We can't rely on the city." In this paragraph here, it talks about several counties raising millions of dollars to provide education, and other cities taking on $100 billion in additional taxes for ambitious transit expansion. Private and civic investors in other cities here transforming their cities into global centers of technology and strengthening collaboration between universities, companies, entrepreneurship. I see more and more of this happening. Now, maybe I'm just getting more involved myself and it's always been there, but I don't think that's the case. And I think Trump is causing more people to say, hey, we better wake up here.
Right.
We're going from nobody running the ship to who the hell's running the ship, kind of a mode.
There is something that happened earlier this week, just a few days ago. Actually, I'm looking at the UT Monday, December 12th, and it's regarding UCSD having a presence downtown.
Yeah.
Are you either? Yeah, that's huge, and that's exactly what they're talking about in this article about having a presence downtown, not just for education, but it'll be an incubator. It's bringing businesses downtown. It's preparing kids for college, maybe some disadvantaged kids that normally wouldn't have access to really college prep. Also, it's going to emphasize coding skills, computer coding, for kids that wouldn't necessarily have access to that type of education. And I'll put this on our Facebook site, but it's UCSD set to create footprint downtown, $42 million outpost in the East Village as an innovation hub is the title of the article. And then there was a follow-up article a couple of days ago. Maybe it was yesterday or today.
I got a focus one. This is from today, it looks like.
Yeah, Roger Sholey in the business section.
Yeah.
That is really huge for San Diego. And then it takes advantage of the trolley from the UCSD campus, which will be functional in about 2021, and tie it into downtown. So I think San Diego is doing some things right, and it's encouraging. And it's an example of people. I might have mentioned to you in the past that I have been involved in East Village as well, and being an advocate for using that as an engine for future growth of the San Diego economy. Just the fact that we have pharma and biotechnology and computer technology, telecommunications, and really take advantage of those really high-end skills, and let's start delivering them to people. Let's bring in people from other areas of the world, not just California, and then also teaching kids, exposing kids to those higher-end skills. Yeah. So it's really a big deal.
So I posted that on the Facebook page, and I see that we have another request for somebody to join. All in favor?
Yes.
I just had lunch with her today.
Okay, it sounds like she's in. We never really vote on this. People say they want to sign up. I just approve them. But since it's right in the middle of our meeting, we voted, and you're in.
Just as an aside, I went to a luncheon last week. It was a retiree luncheon, former Union Bank employees. And I sat next to a man who didn't work for Union Bank. His wife did. And he is the chairperson for the Torrey Pines planning group. And he wanted to know if I knew of anybody who was involved in the Bike Coalition. And so I knew Nicole from the few meetings that she attended. And so I linked them together. So that's an example of how, one of the little small benefits, side benefits of networking with these various groups that we're involved with.
Well, I've probably got about 5 more minutes, and I've got to take off.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, before you go, I think you had mentioned at one point regarding De Anza that there's a newer concept in golf where it's not a golf course, but it's more like target practice or something along those lines. Were you the one who brought that up?
I didn't bring it up, but I've heard about it. They call it Top Golf. And
POP?
Yeah. It's basically a driving range combined with kind of a social this is what I hear, social bar type atmosphere. But you know,
Well, I can,
I
Chris,
don't know.
thank you. I can look it up. I just didn't know what the name of it was.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. That one golf pro that showed up at the planning group meeting said that he would not support that because he thought it was detrimental. Because he thinks it's always focused on alcohol and drinking.
Oh, I see. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I'm looking at a top golf page here, and they got little videos. It looks like a driving range that might be fairly short with a net, pool tables, and yeah.
It's a way of, well, actually, it's a revenue generator, and it doesn't take as much space as a golf course, obviously, because it's the driving range.
But it's not where you're going to take your two sons on a Sunday morning to go have a beer, unless they're a certain age.
Well, I don't know. There might be a way to do it where it's, it's golf practice, but you're not, actually going around and doing holes. It's a driving range is what it is. So.
Yeah. To me, it looks like, although I would enjoy going there, but to me, it looks like something more that should be in the gas lamp or on Garnett Street rather than, I think, what De Anza is, the people of De Anza want to do. So even though I like it, I think De Anza is not the location for it. We covered a lot tonight. I got a lot of tabs up here. So on the De Anza thought, Chris, is there anything that you think the coalition or Jim and I or whoever is this coalition can do to help to promote that with others?
Well, the big point that we're pushing, well, we've been pushing from the planning group ever since this started 3 years ago, and we're putting a huge push on it now from Beautiful PB, is this planning in a silo, because the Balboa station people aren't even, well, they are talking,
okay,
but they're not planning together.
Yeah, so I think Jim and I are familiar with the issue, so you don't need to describe it in detail. And I think more important than the particular details that go into it, I think that is a bigger issue, and maybe that's really where we should put our energy, because that is one of the items that is on our, if I can find the darn thing on here, which is this community city government relations and elements. I'm not sure where I want to put this.
We met with Michael Prince today, and of course he's in charge of the Balboa thing, and the other stations. And then, so we made a big point about that, and he's going to try and set up some meetings where actually we can try and bring all those different consulting groups and city departments together to actually sort out some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So hunting in little groups. So that's the big picture issue. Trying to, as a local community, trying to coordinate the city, so they don't screw things up.
Well, I think I take a little different flavor on the words in that, government grew out of people getting together and saying, hey, we need a fire station. Can we get together on weekends and build one? We need a marshal in this town. Who can we slap a badge on, type stuff. But it's grown to where we become dependent on them as if they're some responsible agency for our life. And I think people are starting to say, that's not working anymore. It worked fine when we set it up, but things have changed and grown and it's not working. So I see people starting to say, hey, let's get involved. And so that's what this whole thing here about this community city government relations is. What can we do as a group to sit down with those members and say, hey, how can we help bridge the gap between civic organizations up and down the coastal area and government organizations and sort of start facilitating and mediating some new ways of communicating and looking at doing business. Because, you know, they, as you know, anybody like yourself that's been involved with the city, you know, they have a very hard job to try to, you know, make those decisions and balance all the forces that come at them.
So their approach now is, you know, the project team will come into the community and hold a community meeting and get community input. But then there's another project team working on another project. So, and they're not doing it together.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have to take off.
Okay, yeah, we're about done with time here anyhow, so.
Olivia, come here and say hi to Ed. And
just remember, your these meeting videos are posted online.
Pardon me?
I said, just remember, the videos are posted online for the world to see here after the meeting.
Okay, we'll keep it clean. All right, well, thanks for doing this, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, sounds good. We'll see you later, Chris.
All right. Take care, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Jim, let's see. The only other thing I'll share here is the little bit of the latest book that I'm reading. That's the master plan. Do you have a copy of this master plan?
I don't.
I'll post a link to this on the Facebook page then as well. I don't know if I've done that yet.
And this is the Mission Bay plan?
Yeah, Mission Bay Master Plan adopted 1994 with amendments as recent as 2002.
Great.
So it's what is guiding them, but you know, the last revision is 14 years ago, so I don't know if anybody's thinking something different or locked into the visions from long ago. The other thing I'll just share is I've been reading this book recently. I told you about it a little bit. And that first book I was reading, Leading from the Emerging Future, I think that describes a lot of the past and the history and where we've come from as the human race on Earth almost, you know, and where we are today and what might be emerging into the future. This one gets more down into the how you go about doing something. So while the other one is what, this starts to get into the hows. And there's some real...
Okay.
I've posted it on the Facebook page as well. It's in here someplace. Also, and this will be good for anybody else that watches the video, you can search in the group. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so here it is. You can just go onto our Facebook group, type in Social Labs, and a link to the book will come up.
Great.
One of the interesting things with the chapter I'm in, I think it's chapter 7, he's talking about some of the key things to creating a social lab. And one of them is a diverse group of members. You know, you need that diversity to come together, and I don't need to, you know, lecture on what that's all about. You understand that. The other one, the second one, is being flexible, you know, getting prototypes going, prototypes and trying things, and some will fail and some won't, you know, and being agile about how you go about implementing things. He talks a lot about the different powers and forces at play, you know, in governments and just the whole social influence, you know, and how that works and things like that. So I'm finding that quite interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like a good book.
So I had that, and let's see, we had your article. That's about it.
And there were 2 articles on downtown, UCSD downtown. you referenced one already that came out today. The other one was December 12th, and that was front page. So that was, Monday, December 12th, UCSD set to create footprint downtown.
Let's see if something comes up quickly here. News. Yeah, I've found a couple of times, and I think this is the case here too. The title in the paper is not the title on the internet. Yeah, so I'm not coming up with any postings on that, but if you see it, go ahead and post it.
I'll do that.
Oh, what's this? Google Fiber and racing to bring warp speed entertainment to San Diego. Interesting. We'll leave the meeting on a video note here. I'll play this one. Consider this the answer of the future, right? And Hennis's transportation.
Yeah, there you go. I can see Hennish, yeah.
Meet George Jetson. His boy
That's great.
daughter Judy.
I think it's coming though. There's our meeting center.
His wife.
Yeah, that's right. Our community center. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Looks a lot better than our hokey little agenda in the old school format here.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else before we go for today?
No, that should do it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I see you're posting on Facebook. Keep it up.
Well, there's your moral suasion.
And yeah, we'll grow this thing into something real good through 2017.
All
Okay,
right.
say hi to the girls and, or maybe I should say ladies. And
Yes.
we'll, if not before, see you next week.
Okay.
Bye now.
Sounds good.